welcome back to the h.e.r.LIFE BLOGCAST. I have a crowd favorite, Kevin Verga, in the Zoom room today.
Hello, it's good to be back.
I wore my Kevin merch. It'll be available in the h.e.r.LIFE shop whenever that gets off the ground. But I feel like that's going to be a big item that people are going to want to need.
Yeah. Well, you already have items, right? I've seen tote bags and maybe pens.
We got tote bags. I have a speaker that's very cool. It's like a JBL. You can get them customized. I don't know if you know.
Wow.
It's a tiny little speaker. We have the logo on there. I thought about maybe doing a rebrand, but I was like, we're already branded. I can't be messing around with it now.
Well, what would the rebrand be?
I want it to be cooler. I think we have evolved, and I think I want it to be like artsier and less cartoony. That's my vibe. Like more abstract.
The logo.
The logo itself.
All right.
TBD. We'll see.
Yeah, like a season 3 Netflix rebrand. Total
exactly.
flip.
Like we have to have room to evolve. And then I think all that old merch will just become vintage merch.
Yeah.
With even more value.
What color scheme are you thinking about for this rebrand?
I would probably stick in the same color scheme, just make it different typography, a different kind of laptop. I picture something very like graphic and less like cutesy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're not messing around anymore.
Yeah. I'm totally behind that, and I'd love to be your marketing director. Get it off the ground.
That's actually awesome because I was in the market for a marketing director. So
nice. Nice.
Okay, we have a really great episode planned. I haven't named it yet. I'm trying to like work on a title. I guess the working title is Quintessential Fall Jams. So Kevin and I have each picked a quintessential fall jam of ours, and we're going to compare, break them down. We're kind of taking a page from your book, Kevin, on your show, Devin and Kevin Stop Making Sense, where you break down Talking Head songs, and we're going to break down these quintessential fall jams in a music theory way, perhaps, if you want to dive into that. Also just kind of breaking down the poetry of the lyricism and just talking about what makes them quintessentially fall to us. We have very different songs, but I think the themes, there's a lot of shared themes. It's going to be interesting. But before we get into that, it's just the teaser, because of course we have some reflecting to do. Kevin, do you want to kick us off with your H of the Her Reflections of the Week? You're happy?
Yeah. Before we get into that, I just found it funny. I was thinking fall jams. I just pictured like a jam. Because I could also go with it.
Like a little fall jam. Which jam would you pair with each jam?
This one's poetic and lyrical. Yeah, this is good.
A raspberry jam.
Yeah. Okay. Puns aside, my happy is I feel good because I've been using the Nike Training Club app.
Okay.
And I've been a fan of the Run Club.
Coach Bennett.
Yeah, Coach Bennett. I mean, need I say more?
No.
Changed my life. Nike Training Club, I've been doing mobility and yoga workouts, and I just feel great. It just added a new dimension to my workouts, and I just feel looser. Also, I have huge crushes on every yoga trainer in the Nike Run Club or Nike Training Club app, and that's also a benefit. Yeah, swim of the week.
I wasn't into it because I was like, exercise. The Nike Run Club is a stretch for me, but I do really enjoy that. So I feel like if I'm going to enjoy other kinds of exercise, it might as well be in the Nike Club family. And if there's swoon-worthy trainers, then what's stopping me?
Yeah. I mean, Nike Run Club, you are on the top of everyone's running charts. You are 100 miles ahead of me, literally.
Wow. I want more people to know that. I appreciate you calling attention to that because I don't know. I've been bored, I guess. I don't know. I like to run. I think I've actually grown to kind of enjoy it.
I can tell because I thought I was going. I get out there a lot, and I'm not running very far, but I'm like way ahead of everyone. Humble brag on my list, except for you. You are so much further ahead of me. So,
but nice job. Of all time, maybe I just had the app way before you.
No, because I used to be in first before quarantine, by a lot, and then you have overtaken me.
Wow, so it was the quarantine running. You know, I owe it all to Connor O'Brien. I truly do, because I would have never started running ever again, probably in my life, if he didn't do that. He did some charity, and I forget where he donated the money, but like a virtual 10K. I think it was a 10K.
Yeah.
And I had never run one of those. And I was like, okay, I'm going to like train and get ready for it. But it's at the end of April. I was like, all right, I'm just going to do it. And then that kind of just, it became part of my routine.
Yeah. And then you haven't stopped. You're still running right now. Forrest Gump style, 500 miles later.
Yeah. It's just a little thing I like to do. Thank you. That really, like, thank you. I'm very sporty. People think I'm joking, but I'm kind of not anymore.
No, there's, if you want to add Rachel on Nike Run Club, you can see it for yourself. Because my ego is kind of hurt. Like, I wish I used to be in first, and now I'm not even close.
It's a healthy competition.
Yeah.
Just run 100 miles tomorrow, and we'll be back on par.
100K. Yeah, for sure. I'll see you there.
Thank you. That's cool. And I think I might check out, because you know who else is Alicia Ali is so into the Nike training club. Like she has her own athletics Insta page now, and she always refers to those trainers and those workouts. So she's very fit.
Yeah. Premium is free. They made premium free. Yeah.
All right. I'm on board. This is not an ad. We just love Nike.
I am the marketing coordinator, so it goes along.
You're a busy guy, man. You got a lot of marketing stuff in the mix here.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you, man. Thanks. All right, we'll move on to my happy. I recently was reunited with Emma Spoldy once again, which I talked about last week. We went to the Women's March in East Stroudsburg. It was my first time in that little sector of the Poconos. Me and Kevin love the Poconos. And it was just a really lovely time. It was very inspiring. There were lots of wonderful speeches, and I feel empowered, as you should, after a Women's March. But after that, me and Emma kind of were just exploring the town, and we stumbled upon this very cool record shop. I don't know if I've ever actually been in a record shop, but as Kevin knows and any avid listeners know, we love high fidelity on this show. So I tried to play it cool, Kevin. I truly did. I was like, I'm not going to make a high fidelity reference. I'm not going to make a high fidelity reference. Like, I'm not going to do it. They get that all the time from like girls who think they're cool and just throw it. Like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But then we were there for so long, and like the vibes were just impeccable, and Emma and I are dancing in like the stacks. They're not stacked though, because that'll ruin the record. I learned that from High Fidelity. And anyhow, finally Emma bought a bunch of records because she's the coolest person, and we were like chatting with the very heavily bearded record shop owner guy, and I was like, this is the raddest place ever, like the vibes are great, and blah blah blah. He was like, thanks, man. He was so chill about it. And I was like, I couldn't even stop it. I was like, so did you watch High Fidelity? Did you watch the Hulu series? Like, were you into it? And he was like, whoa. And I was like, I'm sorry, I couldn't not. Like, I'm so excited. But did you watch like the Zoe Kravitz thing? And he was like, of course I watched it. And I was like, yes. Did you like it? And he was like, I loved it. How come there's not a season 2? I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
So like everybody agrees. But it was that kind of a vibe, and I felt just so alive.
Yeah. I hope that how it went down was going to go down, where you wound up bursting and saying, did you watch it? And then they were like, yeah, it was awesome. It was fantastic.
Right. Like, I'm glad to talk about it. Like, that was the vibe. And then me and Emma thought of this other brilliant idea that Kevin has since co-signed, where if all else fails professionally and I can't think of anything else to do like with my life, we're just going to open record shop / diner, because I feel like the vibes could be very similar. You know what I mean? Where like Kevin curates some sick jams and records to sell at the diner record shop, and they play real loud. Like, this isn't a conversation place. This is a jam diner place. You know what I'm saying? But not jam. We could sell jams maybe.
Jams.
I think there's like, that's an untapped market that you could market for us. That could be really cool, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm in for that.
Do you think that exists already?
Maybe, but not to the point where we know it.
Could be like retro. Like, I'm thinking of all kinds of vibes. I just think we really could have fun with that.
Yeah. Okay. BYOR. Like, bring your own record, throw it on.
That'd be sick.
Drink some coffee. Have fun. There's a dance floor.
I love it.
Yeah.
Our waitresses could roller skate, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, we'd have to, there had to be training for that. I feel like that's a liability thing.
That's also very true. But you just see, like, now on TikTok, there's all these roller skating TikTokers who, like, dance as they roller skate. Like, there could be, like, we can't get too kitschy, though, because I want it to be cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we want the tourism crowd. It'll be in East Stroudsburg, because I'm really in love with that town right now. But the Poconos finest roller skating diner record shop.
It's on the peak of the Pocono Mountain itself.
Oh. Yeah. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
All right, so cool. I'm happy about that. Thank you for being on board.
I'm in.
I'm gonna buy a record player too. I just think I'm overdue.
All right, so let's say you have a record player. What record do you get first? What do you buy it
Number
with?
one, Fleetwood Mac, Greatest Hits. I don't know if I need
Nice.
anything else. I think
That's it.
that record has transformed the aura of my soul since being in Connecticut for Emma's birthday weekend, and it's just all I want to listen to. But it's sad when you're by yourself and when it's not on a record player. It doesn't sound the same.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I've done this like so many times this episode. I hate myself. What else? I don't really know. I didn't think too ahead. But I feel like you can't get lame, like, I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of like, you can't get like the Glee cover album on vinyl. I don't think they make that.
Yeah, I mean, they probably do, but
If they
I mean,
did,
I'm not
I
saying
would
don't get it, but it's just a weird one to have on vinyl. Like to have that pressed onto vinyl, and then to have it exist in space and hold it. There's just something with it.
could be my thing. Anyway,
It could.
I'll think about that list and get back to you. What is your favorite record that you own? Do you have one?
My favorite record that I own. I have every Strokes record, which is pretty cool. I have this limited edition Dark Side of the Moon,
Oh,
which
very
is pretty
classic.
great. So a cool thing that I have is I have my own records that I've been collecting, and then I also have my dad's records that are literally like let's pull one right here. Let's see, they're right next to me. Let's
Okay,
just pull a random one.
visual aid.
Under my mic.
This is collaborative. I'm glad this is on video because you have a very cool setup, and I think it really just authenticates your music expertise.
So here's an example of like a weird album my dad would have, which is it looks like all Beatles covers, but
Yeah.
it's like a Beatles fake cover band called the Roodles. Anyway, it's just weird. Like he'll just have these weird albums like this, but then he'll also have from the 60s original prints of actual Beatles records that aren't like on Spotify. You can't find Beatles 65 on Spotify, but that's only on record form. So I
Wow.
picked a weird one to pick up, but it's cool to have both sides. Like I'm buying Father John Misty albums and also Fleetwood Mac, but then he'll say, "Why'd you buy Fleetwood Mac? I have Rumors original print in in our basement, so grab that." Anyway, pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love that. He can be a guest curator at our diner.
Yeah. That'd be great.
That'd be great.
We already have like endless records to play, so
That's what I mean. Like the collection's already there, so I like the vibe. The trajectory we're on is great.
Yeah. We just need the pancake mix.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
All right.
Where were we? We're
Too excited. We were already really just getting into tangents. We're in like the first section of the first segment, but
yeah.
let's move on. Excited. What are you excited about, Kevin?
This is gonna sound so counterintuitive, but I'm excited for a root canal on Friday.
Interesting.
I had my pre-op last week,
Okay.
and I'm getting it completed this upcoming Friday. We're recording it on Sunday, so this upcoming Friday. And it sounds weird, but my tooth has been in so much pain for so long, and this pre-op, they like took a nerve out, and I just feel so much better. It's amazing how much tooth pain can influence you, because it's really connected to so many nerves in your head. So I feel so much better. I used to have headaches and just jaw pain, and the jaw pain and headaches created my clenching of my teeth, which made it worse. It was just cyclical. And then I went in, and I just feel so much better. So I'm excited to complete the operation next week.
Oh, I'm excited for you too. That's right. It sounds weird. I'm so excited for this root canal, but you're excited for the recovery and the new life that it will provide.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
Best of luck. I'm excited because I wrote this feeling #patriotic, which I hate myself for saying, but I'm excited to tell you about this new book. I'm actually listening to the audiobook. My Uncle Mike, shout out. I always send him these episodes and he says we talk too much in the intro and he never makes it to what the episode's about. But Uncle Mike, if you're here, shout out for giving me that audiobook of Dan Rather's. It's called What Unites Us. And it's just been a really good listen so far because I don't know. I think I've been struggling as of late being an American because there's a lot of negativity, I guess, to focus on. And it's like our country could be doing better in many ways. But this book is kind of reminding me of all of the beautiful things and all the reasons that we work so hard to become more progressive and create a better nation for generations to come. I think it was a reframing of my mindset that I appreciated, because I think as a country we've been focused on the flaws so much, but if you take a step back and like think about what's good, you know what I mean? It just feels very patriotic, and I think it was a perspective shift that I needed. So thank you, Uncle Mike, and thank you, Dan Rather. Like, what a mind.
That's good to hear. This will be the ultimate test for Uncle Mike because he gets a shout out. But we've already gone on multiple tangents, so we'll see if he gets here. I hope he does because he deserves it.
I hope he does too. And like, I was thinking about, giving him a call, sending him a text that speaks to a similar sentiment, but I feel like now it's a little bit of a test to see if he'll listen, but I'll eventually tell him. And I'm only about halfway through, but I don't know. It's just, there's chapters on empathy, on books. I just listened to a really great chapter about the power of books, and he talks about all these libraries and how quintessentially American it is to just learn about all the stuff and to use that knowledge to make decisions in Congress, for example. It's very eye-opening. It continues to be, and it's a good time to be reading it, absorbing it, shifting it.
Nice. Yeah, the idea of patriotism is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? Is it inherently good? Is it inherently bad?
Right.
I don't have an answer for that. I still struggle with it. But a key American trait is being able to criticize where you grow up. Absolutely. And have it be seen under their critical eye. And that's what you're doing right now, but in a ultimately positive way of seeing what unites us. And that's nice. I like that.
Unites us. So yeah, definitely recommend it. I'll forward over the audiobook when I'm done, so you can give it a listen. I don't know if that's how audiobooks. This is my first Audible experience, but whatever. That's what I'm excited about. I'm excited to finish the book and to lead it into election season. The end of. Anyway. Realization time?
Yes. Do you want to go first?
Yes, I was going to suggest, I like when I go first on the realization. Okay, this one struck me last night. I was so happy to stumble upon it. It was recently, as I'm sure you know, John Mayer's 43rd birthday. I celebrate John Mayer's birthday every year, as does Kevin, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Of course. So there's obviously a lot of Instagram hullabaloo about birthdays, especially if you're John Mayer, I presume. And I don't know if he posted anything on his actual birthday, but yesterday he posted this black and white photo of himself with like a guitar and just thank you in blue letters. And I was like, this is like weird and off-brand for John Mayer. What could this caption be? And it is such a phenomenal caption that, again, perspective shift, talks about celebrating birthdays in quarantine. And I want to read it for you, Kevin, because, man, it just hit me. Okay, so John Mayer writes, I'm not a big birthday guy. After a certain age, I think only the big odometer rollovers are worth celebrating. 43 is not one of them. But yesterday taught me something about the pandemic birthday. He capitalizes that, important to know. It's taken on a second life as an identity-affirming show of connection and belonging. What an accidentally brilliant system where for one day during this ongoing spirit-dimming ordeal, everyone will be held up to the light and not only celebrated, but reminded of who they are and what they mean to the world around them. I heard from loved ones, from my heroes, from my peers who continue to inspire me, from people with whom I wouldn't have imagined my existence ever registered. We are all vulnerable to depression these days, no matter how low grade, and the pandemic birthday may just be that one act of universal mental health care we have to keep us afloat. So with that, I say in parlance of our times, thank you all for the birthday love. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it's very human.
Right?
Yeah.
John Mayer, I just think he's like I truly think he's a very brilliant mind that I just want to know more about. I think he's the weirdest guy ever, and his Instagram taught me that, but he's also just smart, and he's also a brilliant creative mind. Like his music is, if we return to the vinyl question, like I would definitely have a John Mayer album for my record when I get it, because I just think there's nothing like it. And I don't think I would connect like the personality that you get on Instagram and social media to the songs that he writes. It's just interesting how, I don't know, he's an interesting character, but this post just struck me, and I think that's such a good way to think about it. I don't know, I think I'll think of birthdays different now.
Yeah, I think going back to vinyl, I think it's called Live at Nokian Theater.
Yes.
That's an
awesome Free Fallen cover.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I think he opens with Neon. I mean, that's just awesome. That's a good one to have on vinyl. Throw it on.
All right. We'll sell it at our dinner.
Yeah. We'll sell it. We'll have to get the rights
Yeah.
over a stack of pancakes. And then in terms of, have you had your pandemic birthday?
Not yet. It's coming up in December.
December.
You have though, right?
I did in April. Early pandemic birthday.
So different. I think notably different an April birthday versus an October one.
Yeah. Because I think when I had my birthday, I said, I'll be one of the few. This will be unique to me, but everyone's going to have maybe 2 pandemic birthdays. So that's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting because I'm bad with birthdays, quote unquote bad with birthdays. I don't really remember them, and I don't take mine too seriously. But the pandemic birthday kind of brings a more specific approach to it in that you really have to choose who you want to see and how you want to spend it. For me, I just had dinner with my family, and they gave me some nice running themed gifts so I don't get hit by cars while I'm running. They gave me some nice glow in the dark. Yeah. And I said, thank you. It's very thoughtful. And I just enjoyed it. I think I'm going to remember this one more than my 21st birthday or one in the future. Yeah.
Cool. I look forward to my pandemic birthday, and I'll let you know how it sits with me when it happens. But
yeah,
leave it to John Mayer, man, to inspire me. And I just thought it was so beautiful. Oh, we love John Mayer.
Yeah.
Thanks for the realization. How about you? What's yours?
So last night was the HBO premiere of American Utopia, David Byrne's Broadway show that was on Broadway, was going to continue its run around this time. Obviously, it's not now. But Spike Lee saw it and said, we need to immortalize that, and made a film of it.
Wow.
So this is kind of the child of Stop Making Sense, the Talking Heads film that I kind of like. It's pretty good. Maybe you can watch it if you have time. Yeah, I've seen it once or twice today. But last night, I invited some friends over. Like, if they wanted to come, you can come over. But if I was watching this by myself, I'll watch it by myself. And my friends wound up going to watch Game 7 of the Tampa Bay Rays game. And I was like, all right, I'm locked in. So I made some tea. I sat down, and American Utopia came on, and it was just wonderful. It was fantastic. I think I vlogged it out with you and Emma after, and I said something along the lines of, it's a great show, and it made me want to forgive my enemies and love my neighbors and just be a human and experience that to the fullest. It's just amazing. Musically, it's so impressive how they coordinate and choreograph 8 to 15 musicians to make these songs. The music's just kick ass. And then there's also an overlying theme that they have. At the end of the day, it's a Broadway show, and it's about connections. David Byrne comes out in the beginning with a brain, and he sings about the parts of the brain. And then he says, when we're babies, we have hundreds of millions of more neural connections than we do when we're adults. So are we getting dumber? Where are these going? And then about halfway through, he says, maybe these neural connections are changing and they take form. They don't disappear. I wonder what that might be. And he talks about all these things through his music of social justice and television and connection and love. And then at the end, he says, these neural connections, maybe they don't disappear completely. They turn into social connections. And who you are doesn't luckily just happen in your brain. It is more than that. It's your connections. And I found that so profound. I texted my mom, who's away this weekend, and I apologized for something. And I said, I hope you're having a good day, because that's what it made me feel. And for a long time, closing thought on this, I've been meditating, and the coach, Andy Petticombe, highly recommend Headspace. He always says, just remember, you're not just your thoughts. You're not just your actions. And I kept thinking okay, I take your word for it, but then what am I? Who am I? And David Byrne kind of completed that, in that you are expanded. You are your conversations, your friends, your family, your experience, the continuum of it all. So that was awesome. I love that. I highly recommend American Utopia. It's on HBO. It's immortalized. It's fantastic. End quote.
I just have to say, I don't think there's anything more Kevin Verga than Andy Petticombe and David Byrne coming together to drive home a point for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I cried multiple times last
I'm
night.
like
It was
happy for
fantastic.
you because I know that must have just, I can't even imagine how like earth shaking an interaction maybe that must have been for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Very well put. I'm very intrigued. I don't have HBO, but I feel like I need to I'll get my little trial to experience it because I feel like I owe it to you, Kevin.
I think it's worth it. I
Yeah.
think Stop Making Sense. I love Talking Heads. They're weird. They like dance around. It's weird. I think
It
I
is.
think American Utopia is more approachable
Okay.
because it's just more artistic and it's more fun to watch. And it just seems like all the forms of art that I enjoy and most people
Yeah.
enjoy, it's fun to watch. It keeps your attention. It's good.
I love it. Okay. No, I'm very intrigued and I'm just happy that it resonated with you on the level that it did.
It really did. Thank you.
What a realization.
Yeah.
Good for you, Kev. That's good. Okay. Now I'm so excited to have this episode, but I think we talked about how to structure this, and I'm not sure this is like the best way, but we're just going to go with it. First, we'll give you an overview of Kevin and I's choices. Actually, I think I'm changing my mind on the fly. We're like, Kevin and I both provided like backgrounds on our respective songs, just talking about maybe the context in which they're released, what the song has come to be known as among fans. And then maybe in part two, we can go through more like a line by line kind of musical and poetic interpretation.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So let's start with your pick, Kevin. I'll let you introduce it.
Okay. Fall jams. When I think fall and when I think jam, I think the epitome is, well, this isn't a song, it's a whole album, but I'll get there. Is the album Is This It by The Strokes. Released in 2001. The cover is even fall. It's orange and blue and there's designs. It's just very fall. The music itself that lays inside when you crack that open, that 43 minutes of just lo-fi, high energy garage rock. It's just energy. It's just great. And while you're tapping your foot, walking around campus or walking down a New York City street, you're loving it, but also you're sad about it, about the things Julian's singing about these loves lost and confusing times of being young in New York City. And it just took over my life from when I really found Is This It? I think it's very nostalgic. That's the whole, I think, bread and butter of the album. And I think the epitome of nostalgia on that album, and my personal favorite song, is Someday, which comes about halfway through. I think that song is perfect. I think it's beautiful. And I think it's amazing. That's my pick, Someday by The Strokes. Yeah.
Very strong intro. And I'm struck by literally everything you said because I think you can apply everything you just said to the song and even the album that I'm about to intro on a thematic level. The vibes couldn't be more different of the songs themselves and of the albums, but everything you just said, quintessentially fall, very nostalgic. You're so content listening, but you're also very sad. It all plays in. Hang on, I have to cough. Okay. So my pick is All Too Well by Taylor Swift, which we talked about briefly, Kevin, on the Passion Project episode. And I think you asked me what is the song that, for me, encapsulates love in the most authentic way. And I said All Too Well, Taylor Swift. But make no mistake, it is a heartbreak song. It is a heart-wrenching song, I will go so far as to say. But I think it paints the most beautiful picture of what the arc of a relationship can be and often is, and how it doesn't always end up in a perfect little and they lived happily ever after, but that doesn't negate the impact of the love. So All Too Well, let me just, like, where to begin? I'm so excited to get your takes on everything, but we'll give a little intro. All Too Well came off the Red album, which was released in 2012. And again, a very quintessentially fall album. There's so many memes and stuff among Taylor Swift fans of like, the first leaves have changed, nothing but red will be played until now until the snow falls. You know, like this is the fall album. Very nostalgic, very coming of age. And I think it's when we get from Taylor Swift, the first album, where we're getting like actual like everything before that was very like crushes and la-di-da, kind of imagining like very fairy tale kind of ideas about love. And this is the first time where she hits you with like, I fall into love, I got my heart broken, and now let's talk about it, like the real, actual, real life stuff, which I don't think ever resonated with me too heavily. Maybe starting now, like I'm in that phase. Also, the Red Album is where 22 came in, and I'm 22 right now, so it's like really, it's hitting me right now. I love this album. So anyway, All Too Well tells the now infamous love story between Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal, who is a handsome actor. Okay, so they dated in 2010 from about October to December. So like a very short-lived relationship, but as soon as you listen to the song, you know how quickly things moved along and how impactful it was for Taylor Swift. And I would assume Jake as well, because how can you have a one-sided love after you hear the song? Okay. So I feel like I'm like all jumbled already because I'm just so excited, but let me make sure I'm getting all my points. So recently, just to tell you, Kevin, the impact of the song among Taylor Swift fans, Jake Gyllenhaal recently posted on his personal Instagram, nothing to do with Taylor Swift, just a throwback photo of like an old yearbook from elementary school. In it, he wears glasses. There's a line in the song about flipping through photo albums when he had glasses and had a twin-sized bed and was on the T-ball team. Like, these are all lyrics in the song. And Taylor Swift fans went insane when Jake Gyllenhaal just posted a picture of himself in glasses when he was around 8. So people lost their minds because everyone knew the impact of that Jake. I don't know, I just can't even, like, Taylor Swift saw that picture when she was sitting at the dinner table with, like, his mom and Maggie, his sister. And now we're seeing it years later, and the impact of the song is still the same. It's incredible. I think All Too Well is now it's probably the most beloved Taylor Swift song ever. I think it always will be. It has taken on a really, like, a life of its own among Taylor Swift fans, and she spoke to this when she did her Reputation tour, which is now on Netflix, and it's the concert film that I talked about when we did our Things We Come Back To episode, alongside Your Stop Making Sense. So again, like, there's parallelisms here. Is that a word?
Yeah.
So she said in the concert film, before she played the acoustic version of the song, like, this song was, obviously it's a heartbreak song. It was just kind of a cathartic energy release for me when I wrote it. It's buried within the album. It was never released as a single. She kind of thought it would be sent out and then be forgotten about. It's not one of the impactful songs she thought. But then Taylor Swift fans kind of really embraced the messaging. I think so many people related to it for so many reasons, because as we'll talk about, it really paints the entire picture of the entire relationship from the very beginning to the very bitter end. And I think there's so many things, that tangible pieces of imagery that you can latch onto and relate to. And for that reason, Taylor Swift fans really embraced the song. And for Taylor Swift, according to her in this concert film, it changed the meaning for her because it became this message of unity and resonance, and like everybody kind of is going through the same thing in their own ways. And I don't know, it was just like a cool moment for people, fans and artists, to come together over this feeling that is bad, but that everybody goes through. So you might as well deal with it. And it happens in the fall, usually.
Yeah. Something about the fall.
Something about the fall.
Cuffing season, as they say.
Cuffing season.
I didn't know this song was about Jake Gyllenhaal, but that helps put a face. I like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Obviously, so did Taylor for a bit.
Very much so.
And I think the story of the Instagram post with the yearbook with the glasses shows just how strong the imagery is in the song, in that she obviously was struck by that to the point where it was a song, and then she explains it so well in the song that all her millions of fans were like, oh yes, I get that too. Like, that
10 years
makes me
later.
feel something.
Like, it's not even like the song was just released and it was top of the mind for us all. Like, this came out a decade ago, almost. It happened for Taylor a decade ago. And now we're still, the power that it has. I just think it's the most beautifully written song I've ever heard. A beautiful piece of poetry, even without the music, but I think we'll get into how the music plays into it. I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal, man.
Yeah.
Also, Jake Gyllenhaal sings. He was on Broadway.
Oh yes. I can't think of the
Sundays
name.
in the Park with George, I think, right?
What'd you say?
Sundays in the Park with George. Did I make that up?
I don't know. I thought he was in something else, but he might have been multiple things.
He very well could have.
Yeah.
He's got a very like, whoa.
Oh.
I'm gonna cut that.
All right. Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah. That's interesting. I think to kind of make a compare and contrast between the two songs,
Mm-hmm.
comparatively, similarity. It's this idea of nostalgia, of looking back through the lens of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift's was well known, written about a person. The imagery is very specific, and that's what I think appeals to it. Some of the ones that stuck out to me is about there's a scarf at your sister's house, you've got it in your drawer, we're singing in the car, getting lost upstate, I'm crying right now, I'm glad this is a podcast. You know, the picture of you with your glasses and all these. I like we're dancing around the kitchen in the refrigerator light.
Light. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, hyper specific, just
Yeah.
beautiful images of intimacy. But I don't think in any part of this song are they mentioning kissing in the moonlight or anything sexual. It's just very intimate moments that are just what you do when you share some time and space with someone that you really care about. I really like that.
Yeah, like the very everyday, very normal, benign moments of life where benign sounds banal. What is that word?
I get what you mean.
Yeah, the very everyday moments of life that I guess are enriched by sharing them with the person that you love.
Yeah. And they're very specific and the images are very strong. Well, I think that opposes Someday, which is very spacey. There's really no specifics in the song. It's very much, it also seems like it's taken place as someone in the future or in the present looking backward. But it's just more room for interpretation, I think. In many ways, we'll miss the good old days someday. The only specific part is the chorus where he says, Maya thinks I'm lacking in depth. I'll try my best. He throws someone's name, Maya or my ex. I think I froze there for a sec.
You did for a little, but I think you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, one sec. I might switch to a different connection. Hello.
I hear you, but I don't see you. I see the old you. Oh, there you are. Okay.
You see the old me.
You're like frozen, like checking the connection, and now you're back.
Okay. Anyway, I think Taylor Swift does such a good job of painting these specific images, while Julian does such a good job of leaving so much open. It just feels like a very open song, and the poetic nature of each of the lines is very different. I mean, there's so many just less lyrics in Someday, and so many more lyrics in All Too Well, but they still paint such a vivid picture in my mind.
I agree. And I think it's interesting because both of them, I would say, leave a lot of room for a lot of relatability, which is interesting because Taylor's is so hyper-specific, as you say. But I think the beauty of Someday is that you can really insert your own narrative and it can apply.
Yeah.
More exactly than I guess Taylor Swift's can. And yet the feeling remains the same of you can recall a breakup and apply them to both of these songs and learn about it, reflect on it, etc.
Yeah. I just found it so striking that I don't think anyone would ever place these two musicians together. Or I like to play a game on Spotify of if I can get from one musician to the other through related artists. I think it'd be kind of difficult to get from Taylor Swift to The Strokes.
I agree.
But now that I have these two songs next to each other, there's a lot of similarities, not only in the lyrics, but also in the composition of the songs. They're very simple songs. They're really only a few chords, and like All Too Well is very simple, like that lead guitar part, and there's nothing wild. There's no wild guitar solos, and it's just nice, which I think the simplistic natures of the songs is why we're able to fit in our own realities there and draw our own conclusions. And also maybe just want to do the things ourselves also. Like, oh, I want to do that. I want to experience those things. I also want to play those songs.
Yeah.
Like, physically.
No, absolutely. I feel that. No, I agree. I feel like this is a Taylor Swift song that I could maybe learn to play on the guitar, even having zero background in. That's not true. I took guitar lessons in elementary school, but I still feel like I could play the song if I really tried. You know?
Yeah.
I had a point I wanted to make and I lost it, and I'm mad I didn't like write it down. I have another one, but maybe I'll circle back to the initial point that I wanted to make. But I think it's very interesting that we, even having this discussion right now with you, Kevin, it's like, we're not talking much about fall, but that's what got us here. I could see having this conversation about, I was like, Kevin, hit me with your go-to breakup jam, or like your heartbreak song. And then you play the song and I'm like, okay, and we talk about it and we talk about those themes. But it's so interesting to me, and I don't know if I have a good reason for why both of these songs are quintessentially fall jams for us. In Taylor Swift, there's literally the line, autumn leaves fall like pieces into place, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But there's no, I don't think there's any very explicit lyrics in the Strokes song, but I also definitely feel the fall vibes. So it's just interesting why fall is the nostalgic season, and why I wonder if it's because of cuffing season. Like, I wonder if that is like linked in. Like, I genuinely wonder if that's like why maybe we're receptive to these kind of songs right now, because I don't know. I wonder if those two roads travel in the same direction.
Yeah.
Like, why I want to be in a relationship right now, and also why Taylor Swift All Too Well is speaking to my soul.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of evolutionary biology, if I can take the romance out of it for a sec. In that I think the summer it's heating up. The enzymes in our bodies are just going wild. It's hot. It's hot and it's hot, you know? And we're flying around all over the place.
Yeah.
And then it gets colder and we look up and the leaves are falling down and we're like, man, remember when those leaves were full and green? And now we're running out of time. There's almost like a time limit. The trees are almost an hourglass. And it's getting colder. You want to bundle up. You want to bundle up with someone. You know, you want to hibernate together through the winter. And it's nice. Yeah. And you're thinking, and you're like, who am I going to buckle down with? Who am I going to hibernate with this year? Well, I can't do it with who I was doing it last year. Oh, that didn't go well. So, but those were good times, man. Those are good times last winter, last fall. So I'm crying again. I miss him so much. Yeah, but I think that's the biology, is that we hunker down for the winter and we want to spend it with someone.
Right, and it makes sense where, like, summer there's more distractions. This year might be an outlier there, but there's things to do and ways to distract yourself, and it's hot girl summer and you don't care, but then you gotta get cuffed.
You gotta
revisit previous cuffing. It's getting weird.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. I think that's part of it, is like you think about who you want to get cuffed with. I hate that. I'm not going to use that anymore. That felt so gross. A lot of slangs terms, when they come out of my mouth and my voice, it just doesn't sound good. I sound like
weird for me to hear as well. Like, as weird as it is for you to say it, it feels that way hearing it from you too.
I feel like I'm a suburban dad. Yeah.
It's like, hey, you get cuffed yet? It's like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah. You kids on that TikTok, they still nay-naying? I just learned it. So, God. Yeah, but I forgot what I was going to say. Maybe it's my brain telling me not to finish that thought. But, yeah, I think, what I was going to say is, I think you think, who am I going to cuff with? And I can't cuff last year's cuff.
Yeah.
Don't cut that out. That was an awful sentence. That was a bad sentence. Oh, wow. This is why I leave it to Taylor and Julian to sing, because they put it so much better than I do.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, that's the episode.
No.
I feel like, honestly, that might be a good place to cut for part 1. Do you think?
On that note.
Well, do you have any final remarks for part 1?
For part 1?
Let's wrap up part 1 with, like, something.
Maybe we can talk about just the albums, or maybe our specific. No, like maybe just the albums in general, or no? Do you think we covered it?
Yeah, talk to me more about your album, and then I'll think if I have anything else to say about my album.
Or should we talk about albums when we break down into the
that
major
could be
ones?
that could be a good segment for the breakdown. Let's save it.
Yeah.
Let's just.
I think it's good. If we can't think of anything, that's good.
Yeah, I feel like we did a good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I feel like in time-wise we're okay. Like this is a good for part 1.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay, so let me just hang on. I don't know where we're gonna shimmy edit out of that. I feel like that's a good place to wrap up for part 1, Kevin. Would you say?
Absolutely. I couldn't have phrased it any better.
Okay, great. I agree. Okay, so obviously join us next week for part 2 when we're going to be doing even deeper dives into these respective songs, a little bit on the albums themselves. Kevin, thank you for joining me for part 1 here. I think we're really just getting warmed up, and I'm excited to see where part 2 is going to go.
Oh, yeah. Warm up your jams for next week.
I love it. Okay, hang on. I just scrolled to my thing. Okay. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to follow us on Spotify or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, feel free to rate and review if you feel so inclined. You can follow us on Instagram at h.e.r.LIFE. You can find blog posts on h.e.r.life.online, and for behind-the-scenes videos of recordings like this one, to see my Kevin shirt and to see Kevin's stroke shirt and this cool guitar setup, music, the vinyls, the visual aids, just go to search Rachel Malak on YouTube. Trying to find a cool, easy / link, but we're not there yet. As always, thank you for listening. Kevin, thank you for joining. Please join us next week for part 2 when we continue our Fall Jams analysis. Kevin, it's always a pleasure, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Rachel Malak. This has been the h.e.r.LIFE BLOGCAST.